We can't say it's all right to kill somebody because they're making threats to others. We can't do that as a society. And I feel like that's exactly what took place. And for those of you out there that continue to say that Daniel Penny is a hero, very similar to the same people out there that said Derek Chauvin's a hero, that Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero, choking somebody when they're unconscious and continuing to keep that grip on them does not make you a hero, in my personal opinion. So it's not over for Daniel Penny. I'm sure there are plenty of positives and negatives with his future. The negative being is that the person who had died, his father has already filed a civil suit against Daniel Penny. And I could be wrong on this one, but I think Daniel Penny will be found liable for the death of this man. So he's still going to have some legal battles, but not criminally. This will be civil. And listen, this is a tragic story of somebody, and I don't care about his past. I don't care that he might have broken the law. That doesn't matter to me at all. All that matters is what happened in that moment. And as I've gone over this case, I've said it time and time again, this was someone that was screaming, yelling, scaring people, and threatening people. Probably, if police got involved, it would have been a public disturbance. This was somebody who struggled from mental illness, somebody who had a long police record, yes, but in that moment, he did not make physical contact with anybody. Why is that important? It's important because now what we're saying is, even if somebody doesn't make physical contact with somebody and doesn't have a weapon, but is scaring people and screaming at people, we can put that person in a chokehold and kill them, and there's going to be no legal ramifications. That's what this case says. So for those of you out there that are calling Daniel Penny a hero, which I believe he is not, I want you to think about that if you have a brain, if you're willing to get out of your right-wing racist bubble for a moment and just think for a moment. We've all been in situations in our life where people made us feel uncomfortable. I would imagine many of you have been in public before where maybe you had someone that was homeless. Maybe you had somebody that, was talking to themselves or was mentally ill that made you feel scared or made you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you've even been in a situation where somebody verbally was threatening you or somebody else and it made you scared. And I don't blame you for being scared. Would you have been okay with someone else killing that person in that moment? Think about the age too. What if it's like a kid? An 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, or a 90-year-old? Are you saying it's okay to kill somebody and claim self-defense even though that person never put their hands on anybody? Because that's what this case is saying, and I find that to be very, very dangerous. So I want to play you a little bit of audio from a few different kinds of people. And then I'll probably take some phone calls, and we'll be taking a lot more phone calls later on in the show about this case. But this is Jordan Neely's father. This is the man who died, who was put in a chokehold for 6 minutes and was killed. His father didn't do anything wrong. This is his father speaking outside the courthouse earlier today after the verdict.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. System is rigged. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
So listen, his father didn't do anything wrong. And I don't want to hear people say, well, his father was a terrible dad. He didn't do this for his son. He didn't do that. I'm not going to listen to that. Okay. His son obviously suffered from severe mental illness. His mother was murdered when he was 14 years old, obviously screwed him up for the rest of his life. I'm not condoning any crimes that his son committed. All I'm simply saying is his son was mentally unstable, was a schizophrenic, and had a lot of issues going. And I agree with his father. He didn't deserve to die like this. So I'm not going to sit here and attack his father, who, in my opinion, didn't do anything wrong. And his son was put in and out of institutions for most of his life. So the system failed his son. Now, this is where I have some disagreement with some people that I'm with when it comes to this verdict. I disagree with the verdict, but this is one of the BLM leaders who, by the way, I'm trying to get on the show. And some are saying that he's inciting violence. This is what one of those BLM leaders had to say outside the courthouse today.
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Right.
I'm tired.
Tired.
Okay, well, that guy's an idiot. He's an idiot. Calling for vigilantes and violence, which is clearly what he's doing. Not only is that not going to make the situation better, but you're a hypocrite. Let me be very clear. I don't condone any violence. Now, if people want to protest, that's fine. I don't blame them, quite frankly. But when you ask for black vigilantism, which I believe that's what he's saying, that's wrong. And he's an idiot. But there are a lot of people in this country that are black, and there are a lot of minorities and people that look like me that feel like this was an injustice. And anybody who puts Daniel Penny on a pedestal, like he's some sort of hero, or the Republican Party, which will probably not only support this guy, but probably invite him on a stage at the next Republican National Convention, it's disgusting. This guy, Daniel Petty, in my personal opinion, committed a crime that day. Now, a jury decided otherwise. Doesn't mean we have to agree with the decision, but it is very interesting, isn't it, that when Donald Trump is prosecuted and he becomes a 34-count felon, all those on the right say, oh, well, the judge was biased, the jury was biased, it was a Democrat jury. But when you get a verdict like this, all those on the right say, oh, what a great job the jury did, the system worked. So there are a bunch of idiots and hypocrites as well. I don't like the jury's decision here. I don't. And we've learned that one of Kyle Rittenhouse's attorneys helped Daniel Penny in this case. Not a surprise. Yeah, I do believe that Daniel Penny should be in jail. I've been very clear on my opinions on that. We cannot say it's okay as a society to kill somebody, whether that was your intention or not. We cannot say in society it's okay to kill somebody because someone's screaming and yelling and making people feel uncomfortable and making threats. You can't just put the law into your own hands and choke somebody until they die. So if some people out there want to call this guy a hero, fine. You're sick as far as I'm concerned. You are sick. So I disagree with that one of those BLM leaders that there needs to be more black vigilantes out there. And he's basically condoning violence. And really, it really hurts the message when you start talking like that. I think he's wrong. Now, here's another BLM leader. This one is a female. Again, one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter, the organization, speaking outside the courthouse.
Because I have to hug a father who knows that the murderer of his son will most likely go free. Who has to look in the face of a jury that no matter the facts, no matter the expert witnesses, no matter the people yelling on that train that day to let Jordan go, you will kill him. They will not find a white man guilty of killing a black man in modern day America. This is no different than Jim Crow. This looks like a picture out of the picture book when you look at that anonymous jury. We have baby boomers who were there doing Jim Crow on this jury. We have young people who are looking at Daniel Penny as a hero. And what America is a hero, a killer. He didn't give a crap about Jordan.
Now, I don't believe this is Jim Crow. I'm not willing to go to those lengths. Here's what I'm willing to say. I believe that if Daniel Penny was black and he put a white man in a chokehold and killed him, I believe we might have seen a different outcome here. That's my personal opinion. I do not believe that Daniel Penny was trying to kill him, but that doesn't change my opinions. I don't believe his intent that day was to kill a black man. I don't. But just because it's not your intent to kill somebody doesn't mean that you didn't do anything wrong. Now, again, the jury found him not guilty. There have been a lot of cases in my life where I disagreed with the jury. The O.J. Simpson case is a perfect example. I have always believed, and still believe to this day, that O.J. Simpson is a double murderer. Why? Based on the evidence. The DNA evidence, the weapon that was used, O.J. Simpson's priors with his ex-wife, physically assaulting her, his anger issues. He had a past with her. I believe O.J. Simpson was responsible for the death of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. I believe the jury got it wrong. And I also believe that Marcia Clark and Paul Darden did not do a good job. The prosecution did not do a good job. There's a lot of reasons why maybe a jury comes to a certain conclusion. And maybe you can fault the prosecutors in this case as well. I disagree with the verdict. We can disagree with the verdict, and I can give you my opinions why, but it won't change the fact that Daniel Penny's not going to jail. We know that for sure. Now, let me ask you all a question. If that happened again on a subway and Daniel Penny was on the subway, you think he would do the same thing? I don't think he would. So I think we all need to think about that. It's one thing if somebody physically assaults somebody. It's one thing if somebody's brandishing a weapon. If that was the case, I'd be calling Daniel Penny a hero as well. But that didn't happen here. That didn't happen. There was no weapon. There was no physical contact. I can tell you right now, my understanding based on law is that if you don't make physical contact with somebody, that doesn't give somebody the right to kill somebody. But in this case, it's a huge national story. I think Daniel Penny, the fact that he served, might have played a role here. The fact that he didn't have any priors might have played a role here. And I think the defense focused on the fact that this man who was killed had a criminal past, even though I don't believe his criminal past had anything to do. See, this is what's so frustrating about. There's so many things that are frustrating when it comes to our justice system. Let me give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to make an analogy here between the Kyle Rittenhouse case and this case. So this man who was killed had a bunch of priors. I think he was arrested something like 42 times, right? That was allowed to be in the courtroom, meaning Daniel Penny's defense team was allowed to bring that up. Okay, fine. Even though I don't think it has no bearing on what took place that day. In the Kyle Rittenhouse case, the right-wing judge said that it was not admissible in court. Video of Kyle Rittenhouse a week before saying that he was literally dreaming about killing a bunch of innocent black people or black people that he considered were shoplifting. He literally said that he wished that he could shoot these people. And the judge says that's not admissible in court. But yet in this case, they allowed the defense to talk about Neely's background. Is that consistent? You have a 17-year-old who literally is dreaming about killing people for stealing liquor. He's literally said that on video, and the judge didn't allow that in a courtroom. Yet, Neely, his criminal past and the statements that he's made in his behavior, that was allowed. We have a lack of consistency in our justice system. Kyle Rittenhouse, he talks about shooting people. That's inadmissible. But let's talk about Neely's past, even though, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with what took place that day. You're telling me Kyle Rittenhouse dreaming about killing people shoplifting a week before wasn't his train of thought in his mind when he decided to go to that Black Lives Matter protest with an AR-15 dressed up in camouflage, that a week before, that wasn't his mindset, dreaming about shooting people? No, because he was acting as a vigilante. He had a thought in his mind that he dreamt about shooting people. I'll take a few phone calls now. 702-221-7283. Again, the number, if you